For centuries, the world has been trying to explicitly put into words what art really is. For Socrates, art is simply an imitation of reality. His student Plato even believes that the material world is only a copy of how things are in the realm of ideas. Art, then, is a mimesis of this material world. For Picasso, art is a lie that helps us to realize the truth. To many, art is simply an expression. It is the freedom to translate our feelings and thoughts into visions that capture their essence. But even this does not completely capture the entirety of what art is. Art is an object that possesses beauty, admired and appreciated by people, and cannot be found anywhere but in particular places where people can visit. Creating artwork, therefore, requires excellent imagination to give the piece of work the desired aesthetic value.
Good day, everyone. Let us talk about the symbol in Philippine art and crafts. In art, a symbol is usually a solid, recognizable thing, an animal, a plant, an object, and many others. That stands for something that would be hard to show in a picture or a sculpture. A symbol can also stand for someone's whole story, as symbols can be used to change the meaning of a word or phrase. They can change the way we view things. To get the meaning of a word, it is necessary to use symbols so that it can be understood well. The meaning of a symbol depends largely on its usage, its history, and purpose. A very fine example of a symbol is the cross. It is used to symbolize Christianity, the religion which is based on the teachings of Jesus Christ who was crucified. The cross is also used to remind Christians about how Christ suffered in order to save them. Now, I will share to you the different types of symbols. First one, we have the iconograms, which are illustrative representations. They are iconic signs which, as an illustrative representation, emphasize the points in common between the signifier and the signified. Here is an example of the iconograms. Next one, we have the pictograms. These are pictorial representations, such as isotype. Pictograms are iconic signs which represents complex facts not through words or sounds but through visual carriers of meaning. We have here examples of pictograms. Another example of pictogram is what we see on the streets, the traffic signs. Traffic signs have different meanings for us people to be aware on what to do on the road. Third one, we have the ideograms, which represents a concept. Typically, ideograms correspond to the sign as a symbol which relates to the object or concept referred to, independently of any format identification with it. Here is an example of ideograms. Fourth one, we have the logograms, which are conceptual representations like writing. They are visual, referential linguistic signs that do not take the phonetic dimension into consideration. Next one, we have the typograms. These are typographical representations. A typogram is a sign that is also composed of a sign derived from a written repertoire such as the alphabet.
Now, let's analyze the symbols through its lines. Tinago. These symbols represents the deified ancestors of the Ifugao who have been elevated to the status of demigods in the afterlife. The dominant line in this symbol is diagonal and it is very thick, which emphasizes the symbol human that implies action or a movement. Tiniktiko. This symbol represents the Munkutad who are the messenger deities between superior gods and the Ifugao. Some of the Munkutads include Buwit, Bagilyat, and Atibagalyon. They are known to travel with a great speed to all corners of Ifugao universe. The dominant line in these symbols can be described as zigzag, and it is very thick, which emphasizes the symbol lightning that implies action or a movement. Ginlot. This symbol represents Manhaut, the great deceiver, and his progeny. It is one of the most powerful symbols for the Ifugao warriors, as Manahaot is known to feed on the soul stock of fallen warriors that he imprisons. The dominant lines in these symbols are horizontal and vertical lines, which emphasizes the symbol beheaded, that implies dignity, stability, and calmness. Hinikkitan, a symbol of the Weber gods. The hikitan is the shuttle which fills in the rough with the weft thread to complete the fabric. The dominant lines in these symbols are diagonal and horizontal lines, which emphasizes the symbol shuttle that implies movement and stability. Kinatibanglan. This represents the Amud Di Don, the ancestors and their time. It is based on the patterns found on the trunk of the giant fern wood, one of the oldest living things in the plant kingdom. The dominant line in these symbols is diagonal line, which emphasizes the symbol diamond that implies movement and action. Hinulgi. The hinulgi is a complex pattern of diamonds. It is a pattern found in gamong blankets and sometimes the bayaong. The dominant line in these symbols is diagonal line, which emphasizes the symbol diamond that implies movement and action. Hinapyo. This represents the Maknungan or Inumban, a class of protector deities of the highest order in ancient pantheon. The Maknungan are known to be benevolent protectors of Upigao. The dominant line in this symbol is curved line, which emphasizes the symbol shield that imply freedom. Linuhong. This design represents the agricultural gods, superior deities of Ifugao. These gods are responsible for good harvest and require sacrifices and offerings from the Ifugao. The dominant line in these symbols is vertical line, which emphasizes the symbol mortar that implies stability and strength. Binituon. In Ifugao mythology, the stars represents the children of the sun and the moon. They belong to the class of war gods who are highly revered and invoked in war of sorcery rituals. The dominant line in these symbols is diagonal line, which emphasizes the symbol star that implies movement and action. Binania. The lizard is a Kadangyan symbol for wealth and nobility. In one of the ancient myths, one of the messenger deities looked the form of a lizard to show the first terrace builders the source of water for the irrigation. Since then, the Ifugaos have carved the lizard in their rice granaries. The dominant line in these symbols is curved line, which emphasizes the symbol lizard that imply freedom.
So now, in this part, we will be discussing about the signs that can be found in Philippine art and crafts. So signs are representations that have meanings beyond what they literally represent that can come in visual or auditory form, as in language or sounds. Signs are everywhere, not just in art, and semiotics offers a way to break an image into constituent parts, its signs, and trace how they relate to each other and other system of meaning. So there are three basic types of signs, which is the icon, the index, and the symbol. Icons bear a very close visual relationship to the thing they represent. An icon of a woman might be photograph of an actual woman. An indexical sign points to the thing it represents or bears some relationship to the thing it represents, but also is one step removed. An example of an indexical sign of a woman is the simple illustration of a woman that you find on restroom. Designated for women, and a symbol is arbitrary and bears to no relation to the thing it represents. An example of a symbol for a woman is the circle or cross shape that signifies the female gender.
Index. An indexical sign points to the thing it represents or bears some relationship to the thing it represents, but is one step removed. An example of an indexical sign of a woman is the simple illustration of a woman that you find on restrooms designated for women. Symbol. A symbol is arbitrary and bears no relation to the thing it represents. An example of symbol for woman is the circle cross shape that signifies the female gender.
Signs can have denotative or literal meaning and connotative meanings that are in addition to their literal meaning. Signs exist in relationship to other signs, and signs also connected to wider system of meaning that are conventionalized meaning shared by particular groups of people or cultures. This is refers to as codes because signs can often be polysemic or have multiple meanings. Unpacking their meanings fully can be very complex. It is accepted, however, that within the specific groups or cultures and particular times, there are often preferred or dominant readings of signs that are interpreted in ways intended to retain the institutional, political, and ideological order imprinted on them for that time.
Now, let's analyze the signs through its lines. On the blouse, you can see various patterns. For instance, this design is a crab. The Tibuli people eat crabs when it is the season for planting and harvesting rice. So they put the image of the food that helps them to survive on the folk costume. The dominant line in this sign is diagonal line, which implies movement or action. Another woman's blouse is decorated with a design inspired by the rattan fruit. This plant is very important for the Tibuli people's life because they use stems of the rattan fruit to build their houses. The dominant line in the sign can be described as rough line that implies uneven and irregular. The kumbing is a bamboo instrument played by placing the center of the instrument at the opening of the mouth while the other hand strikes at the end of the instrument to produce sound. The dominant line that is found in the design is horizontal line that implies peace and relaxation. The manunggal jar is a secondary burial jar excavated from a Neolithic burial site in the Manunggal Cave of the Tabon Caves at Lipun Point in Palawan. The dominant lines that can be found in the sign of the jar is the curved line, which implies freedom or suiting mood. Hillet or hilot are the decorative girdles with dangling brass bells. The piece displayed here is a hilot, minot, or beaded girdle. The dominant line that can be found in the sign of the crops is diagonal line, which implies movement or activity.
Motif. A motif is an image, spoken or written word, sounds, acts, or another visual or structural device that has symbolic significance. It is used to develop and inform the theme of the literary work. The concept of a motif is related to a theme, but unlike a theme, which is an idea or message, a motif is a detail that is repeated in a pattern of meaning that can produce a theme while creating another aspect at the same time. It is intimately connected to a subject or symbol and employs a variety of storytelling components. It is used repeatedly in a work of art to reflect a strong or primary concept or topic. It is refers to additional information that is utilized to reinforce a theme. Most typically are used in one of three ways. Number one, a single object that appears multiple times throughout the work, with most of the emphasis placed on the item. Number two, a collection of related objects that appears multiple times to emphasize the theme. Number three, a collection of seemingly unrelated items that serve to draw attention to the theme in a subtler manner. Classification of motif. The motif or units of the textile design may be classified as geometric, realistic or natural, styled, and abstract. Number 1. Geometric motif. A motif, pattern or design depicting abstract is non-representable shapes such as lines, circles, ellipses, triangles, rectangles, and polygons. Realistic or natural motif. Natural motif, it is the design where motifs are collected from nature, where flowers, leaves, creepers, animals, hills and mountains, rivers and streams are taken as subject matter. Styled motif. Styled motifs do not look like pictures of natural objects. Usually, the lines are simplified and conventionalized, sometimes they are distorted. In styled motif, the form of leaves, flowers, animals, fruits are used, but they are conventionalized or styled. Abstract motif. Unrecognizable form and layouts. In the textile business of the word abstract is used to describe a non-objective motif that cannot be described or any other way. Just like the symbols and signs, we will also try to analyze the motifs of the art and crafts of the Philippines using its elements, which is the lines. Number 1. Ifugao Ikat is characterized by diamond stripes of white and red stripes. It is known for its color and striking design patterns. The dominant line that can be found in the motif of the craft is diagonal line, which implies movement and action. Number 2. Kalinga hand-woven fabrics. It is characterized by dominant red stripes and motifs of geometric patterns with nature symbols interlaced with white, yellow, and black fibers. The dominant line that can be found in the motif of the craft is diagonal line, which implies movement and action. Number 3. Buntok hand-woven fabrics are characterized by motifs that includes geometric shapes of things around them, such as men, lizard, mountains, rains, and flowers. The dominant line that can be found in the motif of the crafts is diagonal line, which implies movements and actions. Number 4. These woven works of arts are highly styled and reflect sophisticated aesthetics, leading one art critic to say that they have close affinities to near abstract arts. The dominant line that can be found in the motif of the crafts is the diagonal line and implies movements and action. Number 5. This basket is seemingly used for agricultural crops, rice, and edibles, non-timber forest products, as well as snails and other aquatic organisms such as shells. The dominant line that can be found in the motif of the craft is the diagonal line, which implies movement and actions. So that's all for motifs. Thank you and have a good day.
Symbols, signs, and motif play a great role in arts and crafts. We may not understand or appreciate on the different arts and crafts, but these create meaning that could tell a story on their culture and life. Some of the arts and crafts may come from legends of their story, which they believe that through art they bring people together, not just on people, but also bringing spirits together. Philippines is known for arts and crafts. We are known in our traditional art, such as weaving, metalsmith, pottery, wood carving, and goldsmith. This clearly states that art is not limited through drawings, paintings, or dances only, but art is a wide concept which those impossible artworks to make are made possible. Thank you for listening all the way on our discussion, and thank you for watching.